What's up, you guys? It's Sir Scrub here, bringing you some more Scrub Tier Yu-Gi-Oh! And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my long-awaited Thunder Dragon Control deck profile for the November 2019 format. But before we get into today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you do want to see more creative deck profiles from me, please be sure to check out my Patreon, PayPal, and TCG Player store, all linked in the description. And if you don't have any money spare on you right now and you want to buy some singles, make sure to check out my TCG Player affiliate link, also linked in the description. Well, that junk out of the way, let's go ahead and jump both feet into today's video. Starting off with our main deck. Oh boy, 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Roar. This is pretty standard stuff, my standard Thunder Dragon engine, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay them all out here for you guys. This is the most standard part of the deck. 3, 3, and 3 on these guys. So for those that don't know, Roar, when it's banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, lets you summon one from the deck. Dark gives you a search. Roar can also be pitched from the hand to recycle a card, and Dark is a quick effect to search another copy of itself. The original is a free +1, so there's no reason not to play it as well. You can also shuffle the dead cards back with our boy Saryuja that we are playing spoilers for the extra deck. So it's got tons of utility. The first place that I break away from the more standard builds is I'm only playing 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Hawk. This is one of those cards that, because of how much draw power and consistency that we have and the fact that it's searchable, I never found myself struggling to have access to this card whenever I needed it. So I feel like 2 copies is just fine. 3 is a bit much because it's a hard once per turn, so you don't want it clogging your hands up. Basically, whenever you want to, you can have this card. So it's not really a problem that I've ran into in all my playtesting. The next card that we have is our 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Duo. It's a fantastic extender. It's a chaos monster, so it can unbrick your hands. It's a level 8, so it helps you overlay into Hope Harbinger. And it's just an all-around fantastic card. This card does, unfortunately, conflict with Dimension Shifter. This is a Dimension Shifter build, by the way. So it is a little bit of a iffy card. I've gone back and forth with it at 1 and at 2, at 1 and at 2. It really is just a kind of personal preference. You could absolutely cut one for a second fusion, which doesn't conflict with Dimension Shifter, so it's really just kind of up to you. The biggest thing to note here is I'm not playing Matrix. I really didn't feel like I didn't want to focus on using Thunder Dragon Titan as a control piece, and that's the only thing Matrix is really good for. So yeah, we have other cards in the main deck to help us control the board. But the one normal summon that we do have that everybody's playing is the 3 copies of Batteryman Solar. This card is pretty standard in the deck. It's the best normal summon the deck has access to. And of course it combos extremely well with our boy Dimension Shifter. These 2 together are perfect opening. You could open 3 brick cards and still open these 2 and still be fine. Batteryman Solar, being a Foolish Burial, when combined with Dimension Shifter, is basically a Gold Sark on legs that gives you an extra body. Dimension Shifter itself is a fantastic hand trap. It can be used to completely lock your opponent out of their graveyard on their first turn. And even when you go first, it still affects them, so it's another form of interruption against them. Beyond that, it protects us from 99% of hand traps. The only hand traps that can activate while Dimension Shifter's effect is live is Ash Blossom, Impermanence, and Nibiru. So that takes out like basically everything other than those 3 hand traps. Now, granted, those are 3 most popular hand traps, but we're basically protected from everything else. That's it for the main core engine. The rest of the monsters are just kind of extra. Now, this is my first scrub tier tech for this deck. It is a backup normal summon, just to help us with our link plays. It's not something you see played a whole lot, not even just in Thunder Dragons, just not in general. But I'm playing the Driver engine, so I'm playing 3 copies of Righty Driver and 1 copy of Lefty Driver. Now, the reason that I'm playing these guys is because Righty is a guaranteed +1 every single time you normal summon it. Whether it's summoning the Lefty from the deck, from your hand, or from your graveyard, you're guaranteed to get those 2 bodies on board, at least to make a land Fornicus, to at least be able to get your Colossus out of the extra monster zone. And when Needle Fiber eventually comes out, these guys will be really good for that too, but they're really just helpful for getting extra link bodies. when you want to make your big link plays like into Saryuja, this is 2 free bodies on the board. So the only thing about it is it doesn't really interact with the entire rest of the deck. It's just a little bit of a speed boost with the normal summon. So you could absolutely cut these for like other hand traps and interruptions and things like that. I just like having a little backup normal summon. And the last 2 monsters for this list is 1 copy of Bigfoot and 1 copy of Thunderbird. They're good for making your rank 8 plays, but they're also good for popping cards. The dangers do conflict with Dimension Shifter because they don't, you don't get their graveyard effects, which is why a larger engine is not something that I would suggest. But these guys are nice little one-ofs just to help round the entire deck out. That's it for the monsters. Now let's go into moving to spells. I have a really small spell lineup, starting off with the standard 2 3-ofs. Everybody's playing 3 Instant Fusion. Everybody's playing 3 Allure of Darkness. They're really, really good in this deck. I do have some funny things to talk about with Instant Fusion, but I'll talk about that in the extra deck. I don't want to make any more spoilers. And Allure of Darkness is just your simple consistency boosting. Next, we have Budget Impermanence. If you have Infinite Impermanence, go ahead and play those instead of Forbidden Chalice, but this works just as well, really. It allows us to go second. It makes it easier to break boards. You can set it face down and use it as an interruption, so it's really, really good. For the one-ofs, we're playing the 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. Like I said, this is kind of like Hawk in a way to where anytime I want it, I never really struggled to have access to it. I've gone back and forth playing this at 2 instead of Duo, like I mentioned earlier, so that's really just kind of a personal preference thing. Then, of course, the 1 Gold Sark and the 1 Monster Reborn. I think these are kind of self-explanatory, so I'm not going to waste your time talking about them. That's it for the spells. Now let's go ahead and move into the traps. Yes, we are playing some traps. Only 3. Just to round the deck out, give it a little bit more resilience. We're playing 2 copies of Solemn Judgment to protect us from Dark Ruler No More, and to just be a general all-around Omni Negate. And then I'm playing the 1 copy of Solemn Strike as a nice little quirky little tech card. You could just play a 3rd Judgment, or you could play an Upstart Goblin, or whatever else you wanted here. I just like having the nice little... Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. It's a good card. That's all I've got for the main deck. Now let's go and move into the extra deck. Normally I start off with the links and work my way backwards, but I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time, but it's just going to make things easier in the long run. So starting off with the Xyz, our rank 8 monster, I'm playing the 1 copy of Hope Harbinger. My name is way too fucking long, Dragon. It's a nice little spell negate. It's a 3k body. I do have a replacement for this coming in the mail. I just didn't feel like waiting any longer on it. It is, I believe it's number 20 Lancelot, Knight of the Underworld. But he's a 2k body that can attack directly, and he's an Omni Negate, whereas Hope Harbinger is only a spell negate, but it does have more attack points, so it's really up to you. For our Instant Fusion target, I'm only playing the 1 copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. No Kaminari attack in this one. There have been a couple of times where I've drawn a 2nd copy of Instant Fusion and really wished I had the 2nd target, and there is a card later on that I'll show you guys you can cut if you do want to play the Kaminari attack. I just really didn't feel like waiting on buying it. I had it earlier in the year, but I traded it off and things like that. I didn't feel like waiting around because it did get bought out. It is about $10 now, so I really just didn't feel like waiting to be able to get the funds up to be able to get it. Then we're playing the 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Titan. You need at least 2 to be able to recycle them, so that way your grind game is basically infinite as long as you can continue to recycle your fusions, and you can recycle one of these until they can't even like DD Crow it away or something like that because it doesn't change anything. So yeah, Titan's a really, really good card. Unless they have something like Eater of Millions to banish it face down, you can pretty much cycle these endlessly. Of course, we're also playing the 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Colossus. The whole reason you play this deck, Colossus, is fantastic. It's a floodgate. It's basically indestructible. People have learned how to play around it, hence the Thousand Eyes Restrict, but it's still just a fantastic card. 2600 body. It does so much in the metagame. That's it for the non-links. Moving into link monsters, we're going to start with the little ones and move up. Starting off with Link Karibo. I know we're not playing Matrix, so Link Karibo is not as useful as it could be. But it really does work well with Thousand Eyes Restrict. It helps you to get your Colossus out of the extra monster zone. So that way you can kind of play around Mega Fleet Dragon, because that card, that tech is pretty popular. I'm playing the 1 copy of Lamb Fornicus instead of a 2nd copy of Some Summer Summoner. I'm playing the Lamphornicus because we do have the Driver Engine, we do have the Dangers, we do have non-Thunder monsters, we do have the Thousand Eyes of Straight and the Link Karibo. Sometimes you do have to make Link plays without being able to have 2 Thunders, so Lamphornicus is a nice option. You could play Beat Cop, you could play, you know, whatever you wanted here, really. It's just a nice generic Link too, and of course Some Summer Summoner, fantastic card, needs no explanation. I'm also playing a Nightmare package in order to be able to make going second just a little bit easier, make breaking boards easier, dealing with problems and things like that. Helps out in the grind game, yada yada yada. For our Link 4s, I'm only playing 2 Link 4s. The first one you guys already know, I showed you earlier, the 1 copy of Saryuja's Gold Red. Here, I'm going to stack these up so it's a little easier for you guys to see. Little spoilers there. Saryuja's Gold Red, it's Wombo combos incarnate. It's draw 4, and then it gives you a summon, and it does so much. It's a really, really powerful card. And then, as you guys saw earlier, my last Link 4 is the 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Thunderstorm Mech. It's a really, really good card. It helps you out in the grind game. You don't make it a whole lot, and you could cut this for like Kaminari Attack if you wanted to. It's just a nice little spicy card I tossed in here for the heck of it. And then the last thing that I do want to talk to you guys about is some ideas I have had for the side deck. Starting off our side deck, we're having the 3 copies of Pankratops. Panky Boy is good for outing Floodgates. It's good for dealing with problem cards. It's just all around a good card. The 1 copy of Don't Go Second. This card's searchable, so there's no reason to play multiples. You could if you really wanted to, but then I'm playing a Kaiju Engine, 2 Thunder King, a Dogoran, and then 2 Slumber. I don't have a spare Gamma Seal, otherwise I'd play the Gamma Seal instead of the Dogoran, but you can play it however you want to. The biggest spicy card that I have in my extra deck, in my side deck, is for the extra deck, and that's going to be the 1 copy of Topologic Zeraboros. Siding out the Thunder Dragon Thunderstorm Mech when you're going second into this card is amazing. It banishes cards, it recurs itself, it's a 3k body, it's really, really cool. It's really fun to just troll people with this card. For the rest of the side deck, we have the 2 copies of Mind Control, really, really good card. It outs things, it's really good in the mirror match, it deals with Dingirsu, it deals with Colossus, it deals with, you know, just whatever you need it to deal with, really. Our next 2 cards are probably my favorite cards in the side deck. These are counter side deck options. So, you know, when you're playing Thunder Dragons, people are going to be siding in Mind Controls, they've got impermanences, they're going to be siding in ways to deal with Colossus. So I like to play around that with 2 copies of Deck Devastation Virus. When they go to activate the Mind Control, or whatever it is that they're going to use to try and out your Colossus, you simply chain the deck dev, and it completely wrecks their day, because most decks these days are based on low-level monsters, and low attack monsters, and at the very, very least, you'll be able to rip any hand traps that they have out of their hands. So it's a really, really, really cool card. And the last 2 cards are for going first, just 2 copies of Summon Limit. If you have a Dimension Shifter or Colossus in this card, there's nothing your opponent can do to stop you. It's really just going to be a blowout at that point, and which is why I really love this card, because this is one of those cards that forces your opponent to answer it, and if they don't have an answer for it, it will single-handedly win you the duel. So yeah, it's a really good card. I love it. I think it's extremely underrated, and not enough people take it seriously. But that's all that I've got for this one, you guys. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you do want to see more creative deck profiles from me, please be sure to check out my Patreon, PayPal, and TCG Player store, all linked in the description. And if you don't have any money you want to spend out of pocket, please be sure to check out my TCG Player affiliate link, also linked down below. But most importantly, don't forget, be a scrub. Peace.